We're talking about Janma Karma Ch divyam evam yo vedi tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mamitu sarjuna. So there were some new realizations on this topic. One of the most important things that always used to plague me was, why is Lord talking about his Janma? Karma I can understand. His actions are totally different and he is not affected by any of these things, material quantity, qualities, and he lives in a different world. But what's so special about the Janma? Why is Janma so important? Now I understand Janma. What does Janma actually mean? The Lord's Janma actually means his manifestation in the material realm. How does he manifest himself in the material realm? It is through Swamayaya. If you see how the Jivatma manifests itself to the material realm, the Jivatma is kind of hooked up into the Mahatattva through the Ahankara layer, and through the mind, which is created from Sattva Guna and the sense Devta posts. The Jiva's spiritual senses are hooked to the sense Devta post of the virtual world, and his mind, and through the and through the mind, he is hooked to the virtual world. And on this mind there are projections, so Rajoguna and Tamoguna, which are asat, or that which are software. The hardware is Sat, which is the mind, and through this hardware the software is projected on it, and then he enters the virtual world. All living entities are connected to this Ahankara layer through these modes. The modes acting on the Ahankara, creating three different kind of structures. One is the mind, by which the soul is interfaced. It's like a virtual headset, and once he has this headset, he experiences the material phenomena. He experiences pain, he experiences suffering, he experiences all these things, because then the Rajoguna, which is the Karmendriya and the Jnanendriya, which is the Sukshma Sharira also, that acts on the mind. Basically, mind is like that basic headset. It's made of Sattva, because once the headset is switched off, Rajoguna and Tamoguna switched off, the headset itself has nothing. It's like a theater. You're sitting in a theater and you don't see anything. When the electricity is switched off, you see the reality. Krishna is sitting next to you, and there is no virtual world. So the software that is running on the mind, which is made from Sattva. Sattva is the hardware. The mind is the hardware. It's made of Sattva. Sattva is a Sandhini counterpart. Rajoguna is the Ladini counterpart, and Tamoguna is the Samvit counterpart, perceptional. So material perceptions, which are Tanamatras, sense of touch, sense of smell, all have their material Pancha Mahabhutas. They are created through the Tamoguna. So basically the material phenomena is created, our gross body and stuff like that. So once the living entity is trapped into this system, basically the living entity doesn't know what to do. Like he cannot experience spiritual existence at all. He completely experiences the virtual world, and then he experiences material pleasures and material planes. This is how he experiences the gunas. Through the gunas, he experiences all of these through these, basically through his perceptions and all. He experiences through tamogunic stuff, and through Rajoguna he experiences emotions and his own identity as a Sukshma Sharira, his own Karmendriya and Jnanendriya, his own basically it's his individuality which keeps on changing. Like sometimes he may become a dog, sometimes a cat. So his Sukshma Sharira is basically the Rajoguna. His emotions, his rasas, his pleasure, everything comes to this Rajogunic thing, senses. His own senses and his emotions and everything is basically interfaced through this system. And the perceptions are interfaced through the Tamogunic system. So basically when a person goes into Tamoguna, he treats every person as a machine. Basically he's just concerned with perceptions. Like the sense of touch, sense of smell. He just wants to enjoy the sense of smell. He doesn't consider people as people. Just like, they don't consider men, women as just sense objects. Nothing more than, they don't consider them as people or just animals as sense objects, and they just kill animals. Basically it's all the perception. So when you come to the region of death, perception, just perception, cold perception, without personality, without human personality, emotions and stuff like that, that you are entering the tamogunic realm where only perceptions exist. And when you are in the Rajogunic realm, you are basically it's all about emotions and success and failures and stuff, because it's about your avatar, the Sukshma Sharira inside the material realm. It's all about that. So it's all about personality and emotions and pain and pleasure, and because of the emotional hurt, emotional stuff like that, emotional success, emotional pleasures. So in Sattva Guna is basically just existence. It's just like, that's the basic hardware system. So it's like a television is like is Sattva, which creates the mind. That's the television. The Raja creates basically your character inside the television. So you have to identify inside the movie of the material world your own character. So that character is Rajo, Karmendriya, Gyanendriya, Sukshma Sharira, Prana, intelligence. So all of that basically, from which you enjoy everything, all the emotional aspects of the movie through your own character. Basically, your presence in the movie is just through your character. And finally, the perceptions, like the gross senses and the sense perceptions. That's Tamoguna. That's the gross thing. So you enter, the Jivatma literally enters the material world through this process. This is how I enters the material world, this virtual dream-like world that is created. The Jiva Atma enters through this process, and he interacts with the virtual world. But when Krishna manifests himself into this virtual world system, he doesn't have to undergo any of these, like he doesn't have to wear a headset like an artificial mind and sense devta posts, and then create a virtual identity for himself, and then be under the and experience perceptions and matter through Tamoguna. He doesn't experience any perceptions, any matter, nothing through all these things. He doesn't have a virtual body. He comes by his own spiritual body, okay, through his own Swamaya, by his own Maya, Yogamaya potency, which is also the cause of the Mahamaya potency, basically, which actually controls the Mahamaya potency. The Mahamaya potency's material cause is Lord Shiva, the Ahankara layer, basically, and the three modes represent the Maya herself, Yogamaya, transformation of Yogamaya into Mahamaya. Three modes are also created through Lord Shiva, because the original three modes are Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini, basically. And Durga Devi, who is actually control, she's got all the control of that. So basically Yogamaya, there is no Durga. Durga is simply an outer covering or a dress, which is like, you can made up of modes, Gunamayi Maya. So the real personal Yogamaya, using Lord Shiva's body, she creates, she transforms the original energies, Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini, into Sattva, Raja, Tamo. And of course, a transformation of Sattva is also Lord Shiva's body, because he's a material cause for the universal creation and everything else. So matter has to be created from something, just like also the modes need something. So for example, Sandhini is the physical existence thing by which matter, spiritual matter is created. Krishna's body, stuff like that, everything. Whatever is there in existence comes from Sandhini. So when that transforms into Sattva, and also Pradhana, and also basically Mahatattva, stuff like that. So the material cause for everything, that is, and the mind, material mind and everything, that also comes from Sattva or existence. Shuddha Sattva is basically Brahmajyoti, and Vishuddha Sattva is spiritual world. When Shuddha Sattva is when Rajoguna and Tamoguna are removed, because Sattva is neutral, basically. It's just existence. When the existence is overlaid with Ladini and Samvit potencies, it becomes the spiritual world. And when the same existence is overlaid with Rajoguna and Tamoguna, that becomes material world, basically. So Shuddha Sattva is basically only existence, nothing else. Vishuddha Sattva is existence overlaid with Sandhini and Samvit and Ladini overlaid, and so that becomes a spiritual world. So Sattva transforms, basically existence transforms into a kind of material existence, matter, basically. And the perceptional matter, the transformation of basically matter, matter is nothing but when it is overlaid with Tamoguna, it transforms into the physical matter, like Pancha Mahabhutas are created from Tamoguna acting on Ahankara, which is the transformation of Pradhana. Ahankara is again Lord Shiva, and Pradhana is Sandhini. So basically, you can see the transformation happening, and the modes are also creation. Basically, what's happening is Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini have to be transformed or perverted into a horrifying situation for the material world. So they act like Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini and the material cause for this universe, like the material ingredients for this universe, which is Lord Shiva's body. Through using Lord Shiva's body, Yogamaya creates a transformation of these three energies, basically. So you pass these energies through Lord Shiva's body, they become perverted and come out through a different kind of a transformed form. And Sandhini becomes Sattva, Raja, Tama, and there is a material ingredient which is used also there, basically. The Ahankara layer, the basic structure of Lord Shiva's body, and acting on Lord Shiva's body, different structures of the universes are created. So Yogamaya acting on Lord Shiva's body creates all these material universes. He is the father of the universe, all the material worlds. So because Krishna is the source of Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini, there should be another Krishna. You can't say Krishna, but an expansion of Krishna, transformation of Krishna, which is source, because Shaktis always require a Shaktiman. So there has to be a transformed Krishna who is the cause of the material world, because there is a cause of spiritual world is Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini, Vishuddha Sattva. So there has to be a cause, and that cause is Lord Shiva, a transformation of Krishna. So using that Lord Shiva's body, this entire structure is created, matter structure is created, and then Yogamaya is the person who simply uses this structure. She uses it as a dress, outer covering, and then she manipulates everything, basically. So Lord Shiva is completely controlled by Yogamaya, whereas Durga is nothing but a outer dress of Yogamaya, who is under the control of Lord Shiva, because it's actually part of Lord Shiva's body, Durga. So she controls. The potency of Durga is Lord Shiva, actually. So, but Durga itself is not a cognizant personality, it's just an outer covering which Yogamaya is using. The small little kid is using that dress to manipulate the to create and manipulate the material world, basically, through Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva, as you can call, is the Upadana Karana kind of sort of things for everything, almost like something like that. Ultimately, it is Sandhini, but Lord Shiva is like not only Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini, all three, Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna is coming from him. A transformation of existence, knowledge and bliss into perversion of Tapakari Ladini. All this is happening through Lord Shiva's body, basically. So he is transformed Krishna, because he's a Shaktiman from which Shakti has to emanate. And that dead Shakti, because he's a dead Shakti. Lord Shiva's Shakti is dead, like Krishna's energies are Chit world. Chit world means that the spiritual world is Chit, or cognizant world. In the Brahma Samhita it is explained, because when Krishna's body is Sandhini Shakti, who's a person who's alive, and Samvit Shakti is a person who's alive, and even the knowledge potency and even the emotional potency of Lord Krishna, she's a person who's alive. Radharani, basically. But when Shiva transforms these things into these energies, pure energies, into counterpart energies, then what comes out is actually dead, because it's a dead matter. It's like, because Durga is actually it's like a dress which Yogamaya is using. So the person who's behind Durga is actually Yogamaya. She is the one who's doing everything under Krishna's direction. Lord Shiva is simply acting as a functional deity, Guna avatar, which is basically gunas. The three gunas are being controlled by him. So he's Guna avatar. And he's simply a functional deity, a transparent medium. He doesn't interfere with any of the causative things. Like, for example, he's a material cause. He doesn't go into the what do they call it? Upadana Karana and Nimitta Karana. What is Nimitta Karana? I don't know what they call it in English. So that Nimitta Karana, he is not. That is Yogamaya, who is doing everything as as Durga. So that cause, which is actually moving the things, which is setting things into action, that is done by Yogamaya, setting things into action. She is the one who is carrying out everything, and he doesn't interfere, and therefore he is non-different from Krishna, because every desire of Krishna is executed in the material world via Lord Shiva's body, without any interference by Lord Shiva. He doesn't interfere, he doesn't change, has any. Every pastime, whatever he does, is all for Krishna's pleasure. He's completely under Yogamaya. Yogamaya gives him the knowledge, you have to do this, and uses his body to manipulate all the jivatmas in the material world. As Mahamaya, as Durga, she appears inside the material world. Now, as you know, Yogamaya has nothing, cannot understand what is happening inside the other side, because she is using the dress, and the dress insulates her from the happenings of the material events or whatever is happening. So Durga is like, you know, you wear a hot glove and you put your hand in hot cold water, you put a very thick glove, you cannot feel anything what is happening on the other side of that. Heat, cold, nothing you can feel. Similarly, Durga, when Yogamaya is using the dress of Durga inside and which is created through Lord Shiva's body, and she is manipulating all the jivas and creating a playground for Krishna's secondary leela, which is enjoyment of Krishna in the material world. He is a true enjoyer of the material world. And his enjoyment is, of course, fighting with the jivas and Bhavananda, preaching the jivas to come back to the spiritual world by beating them, basically. That is what he tries to do. And of course, he very sincerely, some of the desires are direct, some of the desires are indirect of Krishna. So it's like, as one devotee like pointed out, kids, sometimes, you know, Krishna might be like, when Sita is captured by Ravana, Ram is like, oh my God, what's happening? How can I go save Sita? So, of course, everything is happening for Krishna's pleasure only, actually. But that pastime is happening, and by indirect desire of Krishna. It's not directly desire of Krishna. Anvaya itarata. Janmadhyasya. Everything is coming. Everything that you see around yourself is because of Krishna's Abhigya Swarats. Who is Abhigya Swarat? That is Krishna. He is independent and cognizant individuals, direct and indirectly. Means everything is happening by direct desire of Krishna and indirect desire of Krishna. Like Krishna's direct desire is running away from Mother Yashoda. Indirect desire, I want to be caught by Yashoda. So Yogamaya understands the indirect desire of Krishna gives more pleasure to Krishna, and so she overtakes Krishna's direct desire. So similarly, Krishna sometimes he thinks, oh, these living entities are suffering, I have to do this, I have to go and get them back to the spiritual world. They are my loving devotees, I have to do this, why they are doing this? And I am trying to help them, but they are not able to understand. This is a leela, simply a leela, because if Krishna ever desires, immediately all living entities will go back to the spiritual world without even a second's thought. But because Krishna is enjoying this entire pastime of preaching to the living entities, fighting with them, converting them back to Godhead, and in this process, Krishna is enjoyer, you know. Just like when he comes for Lakshmi as Tirupati Balaji, he starts doing pastimes with Padmavati and he gets stuck into this whole thing. He came for taking Lakshmi then, but he forgets. Similarly, when the Lord comes back into this material world to deliver the jiva, that is his primary and only role. But then he enjoys this whole pastime of what is happening in the material world. Then he does his leelas in the material world. He takes incarnations when as Paramatma he is playing with each and every living entity, trying to frustrate the desires of the living entity and trying to take them back, or sometimes trying to help the living entity, but indirectly desiring that they should be frustrated. So these indirect and direct desires are impossible to understand of Krishna, what he desires. So overall it's a pastime. Like Lord Ram, direct desire is, oh, I want to save Sita, means Sita should always be protected. Indirect desire is, of course, he wants to enjoy the chivalrous rasa of fighting with Ravana. So Sita is kidnapped by Yogamaya, arranges those pastimes. Similarly, the direct desire may be, oh, I am trying to save all the living entities, now I have to do this. But indirect desire, Krishna is like, I enjoy fighting, no problem, I can fight with them for eternal. So we are nitya baddhas. Because Krishna is enjoying certain things in the material world, the jivatma can be trapped here forever. Because Krishna enjoys Jai Vijay, he also enjoys Hiranyakashipu and Ravana. He has no difference between spiritual and material and stuff like that. So this secondary universe that is created, or that is arranged by Yogamaya through Lord Shiva's body, as Mahamaya, as a dress, she is creating this entire structure. And Jivatma is trapped inside the structure, and then he experiences something known as a perverted version of Sandhini Samvit Ladini, which is perverted existence, perverted knowledge, and perverted perceptions, and perverted happiness, and very painful happiness, tapakari lada. So this painful happiness that happens in this material world is all, sometimes there is pleasure, sometimes there is tremendous pain and stuff. These things don't exist in the spiritual world, spiritual realm, where everything, there is no duality of pleasure and pain, there is only pleasure, and there is no morality, nothing, because when there is no morality only exists when certain actions are leading to pleasure of to certain people, and those same actions may not may give pain to others, then there is morally they may be questionable, those acts. But in the place where there is only pleasure, there is no question of morality, because everybody is happy. When everybody is happy, everybody is satisfied, there is no question of morality, there is no question of enmity, friendship, all these things. Like in 7th canto, Krishna is neutral to everybody. So this whole idea of enmity, friendship, all these things don't exist in the spiritual realm. The spiritual rasas are extremely pleasure giving, extremely happiness invoking. Like the anger is pleasurable, the horror is pleasure. In the material world, Jivatma wants to kill somebody and experience the horror rasa, bhibiksha, that ghastliness he wants to experience, which he experienced in the spiritual world, but he cannot experience that same rasa. He tries to go to a horror movie to experience that. So there are different rasas that Jivatma tries to enjoy. He first tries to enjoy sattva guna rasas, less enjoyment, just like you have drugs. But the drugs are never going to satisfy you. In the same way, sattva guna is a very mild pleasure, because rajoguna and tamoguna are not there. Then he goes into rajoguna, which is like, emotional pleasure, and then perceptional pleasure, tamoguna, where he goes into complete sense perception, sense enjoyment completely. That's all. I don't care about human beings are alive, dead, I kill them, I don't care about anybody, just complete pleasure. Then they become trees and animals, because trees only have perception, they don't have anything else, no emotions, nothing. So basically, in the sense, we are experiencing a different kind of rasa in the material world, which is like shit, perversion of food. Like rasgulla, this original is very tasty, but when it gets perverted, it becomes obnoxious. Krishna enjoys all the rasas in the spiritual world in a beautiful way. The love, the adiras, even the sex life in the spiritual world is extremely pleasurable, and there is no element of shame, there is no element of dirtiness there. But Maya, in the material world, all these pleasures, she contaminates, poisons them with tremendous amount of pain. So anytime you try to enjoy some pleasure, there is tremendous amount of pain involved. Especially the highest pleasure, if there is something like sex life, then the highest amount of shame, pain, guilt, all those things are involved. No matter how you explain, you cannot take it away, because Maya will make sure that you suffer when you enjoy all these things. So what happens in effect is that we are experiencing a completely different realm, whereas Krishna experiences a different realm. Now, when you say Janma Karma Ch me divyam, so his manifestation of Janma into this material realm does not happen through the process that happens through us. Now, in a very simplistic way, we call that like how a mother's child is born through a mother's womb. Krishna does not get born like that. He appears and disappears by his own will. That is a very, for a newcomer in Krishna consciousness, that's how I explain. For an advanced devotee in Krishna consciousness, how do we explain? We understand that the Jivatma is trapped inside the different modes using Lord Shiva's body, and he experiences a virtual video game like or a cinema like world where all pleasures are taken away and mixed with pain, and everything is horrible. Experience is totally horrible. So he enters this virtual world through that mechanism, and that mechanism is Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, and Ahankara layer and Mahatattva layer, and all those things. Through them, he's interfaced, or he's hooked. He's like wired. All his body, spiritual body is connected by wires. You can imagine like that, to this material machine. And this machine disconnects him from Krishna's body. Like in spiritual world, Krishna's happiness is the Jivatma's happiness. When Krishna is happy, he's happy. When Krishna thinks in a particular way, Jivatma also gets the message. All those connections are overlaid by Paramatma in the material world. And all those connections with Krishna are seemingly cut. Although it's not, never can be really cut, but seemingly cut. And then he's rewired through a layer of Ahankara, by which he thinks I am alone. In the spiritual world, he is never alone. He is connected to all the living entities, and he is connected to Krishna and Krishna's pleasure, and everything works as a one unit. Just like in the music, there is one musician, and everybody is following that. Even though everybody is individuals, they are all part of that one musician. Just like, mother and child. They are one, but they have different individualities. But the body is one, the mind is one, almost like completely integrated inside the womb until the umbilical cord is cut. So all of these integrations that's happening. So spiritual existence is like that. But the material existence is individual. Every person is his own individual. Ahankara, the feeling that I am alone or I exist, separately. That feeling is known as ahankara. Ahankar, or we call that ego, false ego, that I am existing separate from Krishna, separate from everybody else, disintegrated as my individual thing. And that individual is ahankara layer, consisting of mind, rajogun, tamogun. Rajogun is sukshma sharira, tamogun is material realm, bodies, gross sharira and material world around you. So five pancha mahabhutas and sense perceptions. Using that, he thinks that he is an individual unit separate from Krishna. And every experience that he has in the material world, like anger, happiness, distress, perceptions like pleasure, pain, all of them are, Maya has tweaked the system using Lord Shiva's body, so that there is only pain in the end. There is no pleasure, actually. Ultimately, there is no pleasure at all. So every feeling, everything is horrible. There is a duality. There may be seeming pleasure in like happiness and distress, but happiness is actually no happiness. But distress is real distress. I mean, there is nothing about it. Now, when Krishna manifests himself, Janma, he is doing it through his Swamayaya. That means he is bypassing this entire system, this entire matrix system that is there, your body hooked to a machine, and then through the machine experiencing a different virtual world. He is entering the virtual world of Maya, using his own Maya, the original Maya, Yogamaya. Mahamaya, he doesn't touch Mahamaya, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, even Sattvaguna he doesn't touch. So basically what he is doing is, he is entering independently into the system. So he cannot experience the system at all, basically. For him, the system does not exist. Now he can see all the data of the living entity, just like a scientist can understand all the when the mouse is there, and if the mouse is under pain, he gives an injection to the mouse and the mouse is suffering. So one dose of shock and the mouse will start suffering, and then more doses of shock, mouse will start suffering more. So the scientist knows exactly what pain is for the mouse, but he does not know what pain is, because he has never experienced pain, never experienced suffering of the mouse. Now he only knows externally, if I give him one dose of pain, he will suffer this much. I mean, something is going to happen to him and he'll react in this way. If I increase, he'll react more. This is exactly how so he knows exactly how the mouse will feel, the scientist, but he doesn't know how it is actually feeling. What is the pain that it is feeling? He doesn't know. Because he is not inside the system. He is outside, observing the mouse in a detached way, outside the entire system. Similarly, Krishna is next to the soul as Paramatma, exactly sitting next to the tree, just like two birds are sitting on the tree. But one bird is completely hooked to the tree, to the machine of the tree, tree machinery. He is completely hooked to that machinery, whereas this is independent and is completely unhooked, the other bird, like Krishna. And when he is sitting next to this first living entity, he can know every single thing of the living entity, how much he is angry, but he cannot experience anything material. Krishna has never experienced. He is nirguna. None of the things of this material world can Krishna experience. He cannot experience any pleasure like sex life. What is the grossness of the sex life? He has never experienced. What is the grossness of the pain that a living entity experiences when he undergoes tremendous amount of pain? He has never experienced. But he knows exactly, if I give him this much pain, he will react in this way. If I give him this much pleasure, he will be happy and elated by this much. So he has millions and trillions of data, but he has no experience. What is the actual experience of this Jivatma inside Maya? He has no idea. He simply feels that this whole thing is a dream and this is all false. So Krishna doesn't take this seriously at all. When Arjuna asks Krishna, so many people are going to die and everything, he says, no, Jivatma, this is all a dream. Jivatma cannot be burnt, it cannot be na jayate mrita achedyoyam adayoyam atredo nayanam chindanti shastrani. Krishna's answer is very simple, that none of these things can affect. So Krishna is completely out of the system. Now that problem, why is he out of the system? Because Yogamaya, who is his integral part of Krishna, who is Krishna's own body part. Okay, now we can't reveal all those things, what Yogamaya is in relation to Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini. These are extremely basically confidential subject matters. In fact, they constitute mantras like the Gopala mantra of the Gayatri to understand Yogamaya's position. But basically, Yogamaya, if she knows something, Krishna knows it immediately. Immediately he knows it.
but she doesn't know what the material world is happening. She is controlling every single atom, every single quantum mechanical energy field, she knows every single data of every single living entity. If I give this living entity this much pain, he will react in this way. She knows everything. Past, present, future is created by her as per Krishna's desire. She can delete entire past files and erase people out of existence. Not people, of course, erase memories out of existence. Events will never have happened. Such kind of things. Past, present, future, everything is happening dynamically as per Krishna's desire. Everything is dynamic as per Krishna's desire. When he desires something, and Krishna doesn't know what his desire is. It keeps on changing every time. Just like Lord Ram doesn't know Sita is going to be kidnapped. He doesn't know what the future is. If he knows the future, it's no fun. Krishna is enjoying this material world. We forget that. So he cannot know the future. Whatever he thinks, that becomes the future. Krishna doesn't know the future. Whatever he knows, that becomes the future. Or whatever he wants or whatever he desires, that becomes the past. That becomes the present. That becomes the future. The time itself is following Krishna. Krishna is not bound by time. And Yogamaya, although she knows all this data, she does not know. Once she wears the dress of Mahamaya she cannot touch the material world. Krishna Prabhupada says this in the Krishna book. When Kamsa cannot touch Yogamaya because she is spiritual, she cannot be touched by material person. So she transforms into Mahamaya when Kamsa touches her. So what happens is, Yogamaya, who is a spiritual personality, Gokuleshwari, when she is interacting with Lord Shiva's body, and that whole structure of Mahamaya, Durga, is created, which is actually the prison house for the living entities, Durga. And she is the controller of that prison house, which is known as the material world. And she is doing it like wearing a glove, like a dress. She's wearing a dress. The Durga is the outer dress of Yogamaya. So she's wearing a dress. And because of the dress, which is the dead thing, she cannot experience what is happening to the jivatmas who are inside her own, her control. She doesn't know how it is happening, what is happening. She knows how to control them, manipulate them, but she doesn't experience what is happening, because if she experiences, Krishna will immediately experience all those things. So what is happening is Yogamaya cannot experience. Who experiences that thing? Lord Shiva does experience it. That thing is explained by Srila Prabhupada in Daksha Prajapati's episode in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Lord Shiva experienced pain, and Lord Prabhupada said, how can Shiva experience pain? Krishna does not experience pain. No, none of the spiritual personalities experience any kind of pain or perceptions like that. How come he got hurt or he felt pain? Because he is a guna avatar. It's through his body that everything is happening. He has some connection with that material events. So because of that, he can, from a far away distance, he can feel something known as pain exists or something known as pleasure exists. Because he himself is a spiritual personality originally. But because his body is the cause of everything else, somehow or other, Lord Shiva's connection with Maya is also from Durga or whatever Yogamaya is using. That is also happening at a very far distance, at the source level. He is only the source. But at our level, Jivatma's level, he doesn't know what's happening exactly. So he can experience that there is something known as pain, there is something known as pleasure. The exact experience he knows slightly, very, very slightly he knows. So he's the only person who knows slightly. And then, of course, Lord Brahma is the Jivatma, so he knows everything, how much painful it is. He knows completely, like all of us know completely. But Krishna, Yogamaya, they don't know. So Parikshit Maharaj asked this question in the 2nd canto, 8th chapter, some verse, that how come the Lord cannot know? He is untouched by Maya. How is it possible? He is staying as Paramatma in the heart of every living entity. He should know everything, what is happening inside the living entity's thing. But how come he is untouched? Please explain to me, Sukadeva Goswami. That is his question. Very, very intriguing question actually. How come Lord Krishna, although he is there in the heart of every living entity, does not know anything, because he is not touched by the Maya of Krishna. So he cannot, because he is untouched by Maya, even though he is there in the heart of every living entity, he cannot experience anything. He is nirguna. How come? People say, devotees say, Are, Krishna is there in the heart of every living entity. He knows what is pain, pleasure, suffering. He knows. How? If he doesn't know, then who knows? Actually, he doesn't know. That is the reality. If he knew, he is so soft-hearted. Actually, that's why Krishna says, anybody who knows my real nature, Janma Karma Ch, divyam, then he doesn't take any other birth. He is liberated. Why is he liberated? Because then you know what is the greatness of Krishna. All this life you have thought that Krishna He knew the pain, he knew the suffering of the living entities, yet he made them undergo all these tribulations. He created a world where there is hell, and then he put the living entities, his own children, through hellish situations for millions and trillions of years to correct them, and still he could not correct them. So many, the understanding about Krishna is totally flawed when we see this understanding of Krishna. First of all, we think that Krishna is so hard-hearted. Even a father won't put boiling hot oil inside the mouth of his own child to correct him in some way, He'll never do that. And Krishna is able to do that for millions of years, just for one mistake that the living entity has done in the spiritual world. And somehow he's trapped, and then he goes down, and all the modes capture him. Then he's tortured, and Krishna has Krishna knows everything, and still he does nothing. That is the Krishna. And then all the devotees will still justify, saying, no, it's okay, it's our karma, it's our this thing. That is justification. But then, even though you are like ready to accept Krishna, it's like saying whatever he does, it's okay, he's my Lord unconditionally, Ashli Shavapada. But then that is fine, but the Lord is not like that. The Lord is very soft. He is not actually like that. So your understanding of the Lord is flawed, because you have not understood the Lord. You think He is some kind of merciless person, because you think that He knows all of these things. But Jiva Goswami says that in his 93rd Anucheda of the Paramatma Sandarbha, he clearly says that even if Krishna knew what is a pinprick, what Jiva experiences through the pain of a pin, he would immediately destroy all the material worlds, because he never wants anybody to suffer. He is just playing mischief. He doesn't even know what such kind of things are happening on the other side. Even Yogamaya never knows. Otherwise, she would not have made such kind of world. She made something, and because the problem is, when you understand Krishna, who he really is, then it's a big problem actually. Unless you love Krishna, you won't be able to accept that. It's a shocking thing. Actually, Krishna is a small little child. Vishnu, everything else is Maya. In the sense, we think that Krishna is under Yogamaya and Vishnu is the actual reality. But actually the thing is, Krishna is the real reality. His thinking, his emotions, that is all like a child, small child. And when he covers himself with Maya and he thinks I am a mature person, then he becomes Vishnu. But that is Maya. Of course, we can call that also as Maya, because Krishna himself, who is the Supreme Lord under Yogamaya, thinks himself to be a kid. But actually, in reality, Yogamaya told me that the reality of the fact is that I don't cover him. He is a kid since beginning. He's always a kid. I didn't do anything to him. What I did is to Vishnu. I changed him. I made him into a mature guy. That is Maya actually. Tava eva Maya. That verse is very powerful actually. Even Narayan is Maya. That's what Brahmaji says. And that all the acharyas have a big problem with that, except Sridhar Swami, who says that is right. And then Jiva Goswami says, oh no, this is a problem. Why? Because they want to hide certain things which are not supposed to be revealed. All these things are confidential subject matters. But the point is that Krishna is a small child. Yogamaya is a still smaller child than Krishna. Both are ecstatic people. They are dancing like a mad person, and they want to enjoy ecstatic things, and they are loving all the jivatmas, and they have created something, just like a small children are creating something. This is the product, this material world. A product of their ecstatic outcome. Ecstatic, like in one sense, mad. Shrishti adikam harir naiva prayojana apekshatu kurute keval ananda yatha matthasya nartanam. Just like a dancing of a madman. All this Shrishti adikam, everything is there in the Rig Veda, this verse, which Madhvacharya quotes. So it's actually a fact that you have a small child who's doing all these funny things, just like he's doing all funny and mischievous things in the spiritual world. He is doing so this mischievous way. He's trying to get everybody out of the material. Those living entities who don't want to serve him, he's trying to make them devotees in his own way. And this is the way he has created a material world which is actually imperfect in one sense, because Krishna doesn't know what's happening on the other side. And he's playing with us, and the only best thing we can do is get out of this material world, tolerate everything and get out, because the point is that Krishna still does not know what is happening to us. That's the biggest problem in the material world. He would never have created this world in that way if it was the case. Many people say, no, the father should slap the child, otherwise, father is omnipotent, he doesn't need to slap the child. If the father knew what the child is suffering, then he would have found some other method to improve the child. And Krishna has got unlimited methods. He is unlimitedly powerful. He can do anything he wants. He would have done that. The only problem is he doesn't know what is exactly happening to the child. The child, that Maya is creating a covering layer, Mahamaya. Krishna cannot see the other side of Mahamaya. He is like the light. Mahamaya simply doesn't exist. The dress, Yogamaya, the dress goes away and Yogamaya becomes his sister. I am the sister, I am the sister. So he cannot see, because he is manifesting himself in the material world through his Swamaya. He cannot experience any of these experiences of the living entity. That is, Janma is divya of Krishna. So he is so soft-hearted. You have to understand Krishna's nature. Krishna cannot hurt a fly. He cannot hurt even a small living entity, let alone put them into hell. Forget it. Krishna can never do that. And he will never do that. But the whole point is this whole problem, paradigm shift, the whole dichotomy of material and spiritual that has happened. A creation that has been done by Yogamaya through Lord Shiva's body and through some manipulation. And Yogamaya, like a small, funny, little, humorous kid, she keeps on doing mistakes. That's her Leela. I keep on telling her, you keeps on doing mistakes. Oh, I think I did this, I tried my best and I didn't do this, and I tried to, you left my brother, I got angry, I kicked you and I created something, but I still don't know what kind of pain you're undergoing, but I'm trying to give you something by which you'll go back to the spiritual world. This is how she explains things. She doesn't know what's happening. She only knows that if I press this button, the living entity will undergo some kind of pain, something known as pain, which I don't know what is pain, because I never experienced pain. Krishna has never experienced pain. Some concept has been introduced in the material world known as pain, and through that process, I can control the living entities and make them go back to the spiritual world, a combination of pain and pleasure. That's what she knows. Theoretical knowledge, that's all. So now the biggest problem is because they have no idea of our experience. That's why I tell Yogamaya that destroy all the material worlds immediately. And even if you want to have the material worlds, remove the concept of pain. Very less you should make it. The kind of concept of pain that you've introduced here is completely buggy. You've made a software which is completely full of virus. It's complete horrifying software. Some big huge bug is there which you don't know, which only we can experience on the other side of this world. Just like the concept is something like this. Krishna cannot experience, like for example, theoretically Bhagavatam explains this. When Sukadeva Goswami was walking through naked girls, these girls, they looked at Sukadeva Goswami and they could immediately make out that Sukadeva Goswami has never experienced material life at all. He has never experienced any concept of sex life, pleasure, pains, nothing. Maya has not touched him. He has never experienced Maya ever in his life. So they know that he has no concept only of sex. He doesn't know what is sex life, because he is a completely spiritual being. Whereas Vyasadeva, in some life or something, he has experienced that previously. Not now, but previously. He has an idea of what it is. The moment he passes, they immediately cover it. Similarly, Krishna is like Sukadeva Goswami. Pure devotees are like Sukadeva Goswami. They have never experienced what is sex life, what is pain, what is pleasure. Jivatma's experience, they don't know. They don't know it. When they go through, they don't know what is happening. They just feel sex life is nothing. Just, somebody is kissing somebody, like spiritual world, something. Because Yogamaya has created the material world just like a reflection of spiritual world. Everything is confusing for everybody. She has copied every concept of spiritual world, but horrifyingly perverted it. The perversion is not something that they don't experience, this perverted rasas, Krishna and Yogamaya. So once you know the manifestation of Krishna, Janma, into the material realm, now this was the Janma part, Divya. Krishna cannot experience any of these things. He's completely nirguna, he's completely untouched by Maya, he's completely untouched by the three modes, he's completely untouched. He has never, if he can experience what a Jivatma is experiencing, the pain or the sex life or the pleasure, once if Krishna experiences, then he is touched by Maya. Then he knows what Maya is. Then he is touched by the gunas. Then he has experienced the gunas. But like Sukadeva Goswami, he has never experienced it, ever. So there are two categories clearly, Nitya Siddha, Baddha. Nitya Siddha, Nitya means constant. Those who constantly, 24/7, they only experience spiritual world. They are Nitya Siddhas. And 24/7, Nitya, constantly experiencing only material phenomena. They are people like us. So Krishna's manifestation is explained through Janma. Now how do we explain karma of Krishna? Now it becomes very easy. Karma is Krishna's, all of his activities, Krishna does on a spiritual level, just like Krishna does in the spiritual world. So his activities, because he cannot understand material pleasure, pain, so all of his plans and actions and activities and fighting, killing the demons, loving all of them are equal. For him, there is nothing known as good, bad, enemy, friend. Such kind of concepts don't exist. So even in our life, even in his leelas, when he's beating the demons, he's killing the demons, he's just like he's fighting with his friend Madhumangal. That's all. That's all for him. There is nothing. When he sees living entities enjoying sex life, he doesn't see anything negative. He just sees that, oh, they are enjoying separate from me. That's all he understands. Just like Madhumangal sometimes drinks chas or buttermilk without offering it to Krishna. So then the Krishna gets very angry. Oh, you are enjoying things without me. That's all he understands when he sees living entities are also enjoying something separate from me. He doesn't know how the experience is, what the experience is, nothing. And he tries to foil that experience, tries to take them back to the spiritual world and tries to beat them. And then he enjoys that process of beating them. So this whole concept of his actions are also because Krishna's actions are not tainted with material things, because he doesn't want to give you pain. His actions are not that he wants to give you pain, that he wants to do this. All of his actions are transcendental. The whole idea is just like there's a small little kitten, and this kitten, somebody's patting it on the head. It's a lion cub, like Narsimhadev, small lion cub. So you are patting it on the head, and the lion cub, like he starts licking you, and he starts interacting with you very nicely. And suddenly, sometimes some other person comes and he starts playing with the lion cub a little aggressively. So lion cub starts biting him and scratching him, and then he starts to bleed. Then he says, "This is my enemy. This lion cub is my enemy." And you think, no, he's my friend. That is your concept. You are superimposing aropita. You are superimposing your concepts on Krishna. The point is, lion cub will tell you, no, I have no enemies and no friends. He was playing with me, I played with him. You patted me, I interacted with you in that particular fashion. You acted like a devotee, I just licked you. And he acted like a person who plays with me, and so I scratched him. What's the big deal in that? I'm just playing with him. I play with my mother, I play with my brothers. I scratch them, I bite them. They don't complain that you are my enemy. I lick them also like I lick you, but they are not neither happy nor they are always happy with me. Even though I lick them, sometimes I scratch them. Now, his mother and his brothers, why are they not affected? Because they are thick-skinned, because they belong to the same species. We belong to a different species. So similarly, Krishna's, Yashodamaya, all of these people in spiritual world, Pandavas, Prahlad Maharaj, they belong to Krishna's own spiritual body, spiritual realm, Yogamaya. When they come to the material world, they come through Yogamaya. Whereas we people, we come through Mahamaya. We are integrated to this world in a different way. Our Janma is happening through Mahamaya. Their Janma is happening in a transcendental way beyond Mahamaya. So not only when Krishna's Janma is divya, even Prabhupada's Janma is divya. Even his karma is divya. Just like Krishna. Prabhupada is also Janma Karma Ch divyam. Same thing, exactly the same. So once you understand that Krishna and his devotees, actually his devotees are non-different from Krishna. They are considered as Purna Purushottam. Means Krishna, when you see the moon, you see the moonlight also. So Apashyat Purusham Purnam Mayam Chadadabashram. Vyasadeva only saw Maya, jivas who are controlled by Maya, and he saw Purna Purushottam. Then everybody asked, where are the pure devotees like Radharani, Shaktis, Yashodamaya, Sakhas? Did Vyasadeva not see them? In the famous verse, Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranihite Amale Apashyat Purusham Purna. He only saw Purusham Purna, only saw Krishna. Then Jiva Goswami says, when Krishna is seen, all devotees are also seen as a part of Krishna only. So Janma Karma Ch divyam, that applies to devotees also. When you see, I saw the moon, that means you also saw the moonlight. Moonlight is a devotees, moon is Krishna. So when you see moon, you see moonlight also. When you see fire, you see the light also, fire light. You didn't say, I saw fire and I saw the light of the fire. You don't say like that. So Jiva Goswami explains like that. So in the same way, you have to understand the concept, the very powerful concept that Krishna's manifestation in this world is happening in a different way. He is not touching or experiencing the pain, suffering, pleasure of the Jivatma. His manifestations. So his actions are always pure. Just like Krishna's every single action, whether it's stealing, whether it's beating, whether it's killing. In the spiritual world, when he's killing, beating, hitting, beating, putting, everything is same. Krishna. Everything gives pleasure to everybody else. Even when he leaves Sita or when he leaves Radharani and goes to Mathura, even that is giving millions of times more pleasure to Radharani. In spiritual world, everything is pleasure giving because there is no pain, no duality. So every action of Krishna is beautiful. Every action of Krishna is great. Every action of Krishna is kind, merciful. Every action of Krishna is perfect. So his actions or his karma are divya in nature. They are not like our actions. So Krishna has no enemies, no friends, nothing. So just like a small lion cub, sometimes it fights with somebody, sometimes licks somebody, sometimes bites somebody. Everything is an expression of love for the lion. But because we have a body which is different from the lion's body, we experience pain when the lion bites us. But the lion is biting us to express his love. That's how the lion cub expresses the love, by biting and scratching. That's how they play with each other. So Krishna does the same suffering to everybody, not only to the enemies. Like Krishna gives suffering to his Sita Devi, he gives suffering to Pandavas, he gives Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj. Everybody he gives trouble, but Yashoda Maya also. But though that trouble only gives more ecstasy to living entities who are spiritual, because Vipralamba, trouble, anxiety, all of that in spiritual body, it is beautiful. It is far more pleasure giving and far more elevated. In spiritual world, sattva has no meaning. It's like impersonal. The highest is tamo, you can say. Like, when Radharani is angry in spiritual rasas, when she is angry, she expresses Krishna, she criticizes Krishna, she fights like Mahabhav. She explained, like when she talks to the bumblebee and she criticizes Krishna, and she is angry with Krishna, and then suddenly she becomes compassionate. All these things, anger, crying, having horrible emotions, getting angry with Krishna, fighting with Krishna, all of these things are in spiritual world highest Mahabhav there. So when Krishna exhibits those same bhavs, like fighting, he is angry, why you left me in the spiritual, I am going to beat you. That beating is like Radharani getting angry with Krishna, why you left me, and for Chandravali, I am going to beat you. Radharani does the same thing to Krishna, Krishna does the same thing living entity. Only problem is when Radharani does that to Krishna, Krishna enjoys it because Krishna and Radharani both are spiritual. Whereas when Krishna does the same thing what Radharani does to him, when he betrays Radharani, when Jivatma betrays Krishna, when Krishna gets angry with the living entity, he starts doing mischief with him in the material world, creating a dukkhalayam situation. Out of his ecstasy, this entire world's pain is also out of the ecstasy of Krishna, out of Krishna's ecstasy of separation. That thing leaves the living entity into tremendous pain. So that is the problem. So we think Krishna is sometimes angry. What is he doing? Is he killing the demons? That means he is like us only. He also gets angry. So he is beating the demons. No, every action of Krishna is just like a lion cub. Every action is just a leela or a play. It's just playing in different ways. Sometimes it's scratching, sometimes biting, sometimes everything is same. Killing is same as loving for Krishna. That you have to understand. Then you understand his karma is divya. So when you understand these two concepts, Janma Karma Ch divyam evam yoveti tattvata, in reality, in tattva, in truth, in the very depth of it, when you understand this concept of Krishna, then you don't take another birth. This is your last birth in this material world. You go back to the spiritual world. If you understood this concept, you go back to the spiritual world. Hare Krishna. सत्यानाश कृष्णा यार माफ़ कर दे, कल उठ के ना कुछ भी नहीं काम करूँगा मैं.